I once burned through my trading account because I thought I had an edge, but in reality, I had nothing. I won a few trades and thought I understood the market. I mistook that for a trading edge, but it turned out to be just a mirage of luck. Many new traders are just like I was. They don't really know what an edge is. They think having an edge is that gut feeling. I just know this one's going to work. They see a good-looking setup and call it an edge. But the truth is, if you can't define your edge with data, you don't have one. And without an edge, you're not trading, you're gambling. Sure, you might win a few times, but eventually probability will take everything back. I've been there, entering trades with confidence, exiting in fear, and asking myself, what am I even doing? Until I finally stopped and started asking the real questions. Does my system have positive expectancy? What is my actual expectancy? Am I following a repeatable, testable process? Or am I just reacting emotionally, using technicals to justify emotional trading? That's when it hit me. An edge doesn't come from being smarter than others. It comes from being more consistent and more systematic. A real edge looks like this. You don't need to be right 80% of the time, yet you're still profitable after 100 trades because you have clear risk reward, disciplined execution, and everything is backed by data. And the painful truth, 90% of traders have no edge, but think they do. They don't realize they're burning money because they lack a repeatable, testable strategy that can survive the long run. This video is here to end that illusion. I'm not here to sell you a strategy. I'm just telling the story I've lived through. From being a trader driven by emotion to someone who finally understood. Without an edge, everything is just noise. And if you've ever won a few trades only to lose it all, stared at the charts, unsure of what to do, questioned yourself after every loss, then maybe it's time to start over. By understanding what an edge truly is and building it from the ground up. I once thought I had become a real trader just after 3 consecutive wins. Sounds funny, but it's true. Back then, I entered USD JPY on a breakout, took profit in 8 minutes, gained 3R. The next day, I saw a similar pattern on GBP USD, entered again, won again. By the third trade, I didn't even need to check RSI, candle count, nothing. I felt it, and that time I won big. At that moment, I stopped thinking I was testing a system. I was convinced I had discovered something special, some kind of trading intuition, a gift only a few are born with. That feeling is dangerously sweet. Sweet, but like honey on the edge of a blade. Have you ever felt that? A winning streak. The charts seem to follow your will. You start believing you sense the market, that you're in control of the game. The reality? You've just stepped into the most seductive trap the market ever laid. Early wins, born of randomness, interpreted by your brain as skill. The warning isn't don't win early, it's don't trust your thoughts after early wins. Your brain is wired to invent an edge. The danger of that first win doesn't lie in the win itself, but in how your brain processes it. When you make money from the market, your brain releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward, control, and self-belief. Immediately, your limbic system, the primal survival brain, kicks in and builds a story to explain why you won. Because I saw the breakout. Because I felt the money flow. Because I've learned enough. The problem? That story might be completely false. You didn't actually develop skill. You just experienced a favorable random outcome, like flipping heads 3 times and thinking you've mastered probability. Apophenia, the illusion of skill. In psychology, this is called apophenia, the tendency to see patterns in randomness. Ever caught yourself saying, every time RSI drops below 30, I win. 3 green candles always mean a breakout. I have a feeling about this pair. You think you have an edge, but it's just noise your brain is assigning meaning to. The market gave you a lucky hit, and you wove it into a signal. Early wins. Build toxic confidence. What happens next? You size up, you overtrade, you stop analyzing carefully because you think, I got this. But you don't realize you're betting on a system that's never been tested, never been measured, never had a solid foundation beyond feelings. You're building a house on sand in dry season. When the storm comes, it crumbles. System, or just a mood. A mentor at a prop firm once asked me a question that shut me up. Show me your last 50 trades, not the 5 best ones, the last 50 in a row. I stammered, I have about 12 trades, but they're not clean. I'm still refining. He shook his head. You don't have a system. You just have a good mood when you win. It felt like a slap in the face, but it was the first time I seriously asked myself, have I ever really built an edge, or have I just been chasing feelings? The casino analogy. How traders fool themselves. When a new casino opens, sometimes red hits 8 times in a row on the roulette table. People rush to bet on black. Red came too much, it must flip. Others keep betting red. Red's hot. Both are trapped in the illusion of short-term probability. The twist? Traders do the same thing, but with fancier language. We add narratives to our trades. It makes sense with this trend line. Volume confirms the breakout. MACD crossed up, got a signal. It sounds logical, but the story was born after the trade won. You think you're analyzing, but you're just justifying the result. Harsh truth. You can win and still have no system. Sounds like a paradox. How can you make money and still have no system? Here's how. Because making money and having an edge. Even in a casino, people win, but only those with positive expectancy survive. You could win your first 10 trades, then lose it all in the next 3 because your system had no positive expectancy. The only question that matters, it's not, have I won before? Do I feel confident? It's, does your strategy produce consistent profit over 100 trades? If you can't answer that, then every ounce of confidence is just illusion. From luck to system, the life or death shift. I didn't write this as someone who got it right from the start. I write this as someone who fell for early wins, was blindly overconfident, and blew up accounts because I believed in something that didn't exist. I only woke up when a mentor told me, if you can't prove your edge with numbers, you're gambling. In the next part, I'll show you the only real way to know whether you're trading with edge or just riding luck. Not with feelings, not with win counts, but with a simple formula that will completely change how you view your system. Don't miss it. I didn't lose because of emotions. I lost because I had no edge. I once stayed up the entire night just staring at the EUR USD chart. My account had just blown down $4,800. Not because I didn't know risk management, not because I didn't use a stop loss. I lost, even though I did everything the textbooks told me to. Do you know that feeling? The feeling of having meditated, journaled, tracked your psychology, and still lost money, like a cruel joke. And then it hit me. I didn't lose because of emotions. I lost because my trading system never had a chance to win in the first place. Here's a truth very few people say out loud. 90% of traders don't lose because they lack discipline. They lose because they're gambling in a game where they have no advantage. Imagine you're a poker player. You sit down, play by the book, fold at the right time, bluff strategically, but every hand you're dealt is garbage. Meanwhile, your opponent, an AI, always has the better hand, better odds, and zero emotional bias. You lose, not because you're bad. You lose because the game is rigged against you. That's how most traders enter the market. They learn a few indicators, patch together some candlestick patterns, copy strategies from YouTube or Telegram, then tell themselves, this is my trading system. But in truth, what they call a system is just a random sequence of emotional habits built on zero statistical foundation, no edge. So what is an edge? An edge is a repeatable statistical advantage, even a small one, that plays out consistently enough to produce a favorable outcome over time. In other words, you don't need to be right 100%. You just need to be right more than you're wrong with structure. Example, if your system wins 40% of the time, but each win nets $300 and each loss loses $100, you're still statistically profitable long term. But if you win 70%, yet each win makes $50 while each loss costs $500, you're still playing a losing game. And here's the problem. 99% of traders never truly know what their edge is. I used to believe in a system like that. It looked effective. Buy when RSI is under 30, sell when RSI is above 70. I backtested it for 3 months, saw profit. I got excited. I went live. At first, I won. But then 1 week, 2 weeks, I lost 10 trades in a row, wiped all profits, then went deep into the red. I started doubting myself. Am I weak psychologically? Am I not disciplined enough? Maybe I didn't trust the system long enough? No. The truth was, that so-called system never had a real edge. It only worked during favorable market conditions, then collapsed the moment things changed. I wasn't incompetent. I was just believing in a technical illusion. Stashed emotional temptation and the trap of real-world trading. When a system has no edge, what happens? You start doubting yourself. You jump from one system to another. You enter impulsively or freeze, even when a clear signal appears. All those emotional, psychological, and discipline issues, they're symptoms, not causes. No one can stay disciplined for long in a game where they don't even know if they have a chance of winning. So ask yourself, have you ever backtested your setup statistically? Do you know, on average, how much you win or lose over 100 trades? Can you say confidently, I have an edge, and I know when, where, and how it works? If your answer is no, then odds are you're not trading. You're gambling with feelings. I'm not writing this to discourage you. I'm sharing because I've been there, and I paid dearly to learn a lesson I should have known from the start. Emotions don't kill your trading. Lack of discipline doesn't either. What kills you is trading with a system that has no edge. You can't swim well in a river with no water. You can't stay disciplined in a game where you have no advantage. And if you're still chasing consistency in trading, don't start with discipline. Start with edge. In the next part, I'll show you why those early wins are the most dangerous trap, and how to tell the difference between a system with a real edge and a lucky streak dressed up by dopamine and denial. Don't miss it. It just might save you from bleeding out an account you don't even realize is already dying. Sweet, but in the end, it was just bait. Imagine this, you just stepped into trading, you barely know the terminology, and boom, you win your first 3 trades in a row. No fancy systems, no deep technical analysis, you just guessed, and surprisingly, the market rewarded you. How did it feel? Euphoric, confident, excited, maybe even a little arrogant. You look at the chart as if you're seeing something others can't, but the truth is you haven't won. You've just been handed a free cookie by the market. And that cookie is what sends you wandering into the dark. Chapter 1, the trap of random winning streaks. I've met people who made $1,000 their first week trying out trading, and suddenly they believe, maybe I have a natural talent for this. The truth is, trading is a game of probability, not a test of IQ. A winning streak can happen purely by chance, like flipping a coin 3 times and getting heads each time. That doesn't mean you've mastered the odds. It doesn't mean you have an edge. It just means you hit a lucky phase of the market. But those phases always change. And if you think you've figured it all out after a few wins, sorry, you've just fallen for the most deceptive illusion, the first victory high. Task 2. Beliefs built on faulty data. Here's the issue. Our brain is wired to build belief systems from recent personal experience. If your first trade is a win, your brain remembers, when I click with confidence, I make money. This creates a dopamine loop. You begin trusting your instincts, believing you've got a feel for the market. But what's the truth? That instinct is untested. You have no trading journal, no probability stats, no plan. You're simply addicted to the feeling of winning, and you'll chase it at all costs. Hash 3. Winning makes you blind. Losing wakes you up. I once interviewed a young trader who won for 17 days straight trading gold. He told me, open quote, "I really thought I was a genius. My friends even called me the gold whisperer. But 2 weeks later, my account was gone. Not from bad trades, but because I went crazy with position sizing, thinking I was unbeatable." Close quote. That's the typical tragedy. Winning breeds overconfidence. Losing brings chaos. Both are born from the illusion of control after early success. Victory is a double-edged sword. If you don't know why you're winning, loss is only a matter of time. Hash 4. Easy wins lead to bitter losses. Think back. When you first won, did you record the reason for the entry? Did you set a stop loss? Did you follow a structured plan, or did you just guess right? The issue isn't whether you won or lost. The question is, did you control the process? If not, then that wasn't a win. It was a promotional freebie. And the real danger? You'll spend the rest of your trading career chasing that same easy money high, taking bigger risks, breaking more rules, until you spiral into self-destruction. Now 5, the most dangerous kind of win, almost right. There's a type of win worse than pure luck, the almost correct win. Example, you read about the pin bar reversal setup, you take a trade and it works. You think, I've figured it out. But in reality, you entered at the wrong time, on the wrong level, with the wrong size. You won, but for the wrong reasons, and you stored that mistake as if it were truth. Over time, you build your entire trading career on a misunderstanding. 6, staying sober after winning is harder than recovering after losing. Painful losses can wake you up, but continuous wins quietly inflate your ego. You stop journaling, you stop backtesting, you stop learning, and worst of all, you stop seeing a need to improve. That's why many traders don't fail because they lose. They fail because they win too early. Have 7, how to know if your first win was real. A real, trustworthy win happens when you've logged the trade entry exit with clear reasons. Your setup has been tested over at least 50 to 100 trades. You've won in multiple market conditions. Most importantly, you followed your process, win or lose. If you can't repeat your results, if you don't know why you won, if you can't teach your system clearly to someone else, then you don't have an edge. Remember this, the first win is like strong liquor. It gets you high, but it won't feed you. What feeds you is a verified, structured, and well-managed system. So if you've just won a few trades, congratulations. But instead of thinking, I've figured it out, ask yourself, how do I turn this winning feeling into something repeatable, regardless of market conditions? The answer won't come overnight, but that question is the first step out of illusion and toward real skill. Open quote, I once thought I was a genius until the market beat me bloody. Close quote. Now, I no longer chase fast wins. I stay sober. I stay disciplined. I build systems because the longest lasting traders aren't the fastest winners. They're the most consistent ones. You think you're trading with a system, but you're actually gambling with emotions. I used to believe I had a trading system. I had a clear strategy, defined entries and exits, risk management rules, an Excel sheet logging every trade. I thought that was enough, but then one day, I quietly reviewed my entire trading journal and came to a chilling realization. I had never truly followed that system for more than 5 trades in a row. After a few losses, I'd tweak it. When the market got volatile, I'd feel like something's off and break the rules. I'd tell myself, just this once, I'll go back to the system when things calm down. Sound familiar? I know you've been there. Maybe you're still there, thinking you have a system. You follow rules, stay disciplined, but only when the market goes your way. The moment things turn, a sudden reversal, a string of 3 losing trades, emotions rising, you start making exceptions. The most dangerous part, you don't even see it as a problem. You call it being adaptive. You label it real-time responsiveness. But the truth is, you're trading emotionally, not systematically. A system isn't what you write down. A system is what you follow under pressure. You can backtest for 100 hours, read dozens of books, but until the market turns against you, until you take 5 losses in a row, until your account is down 10%, and you still press the button according to plan, that's when you're really trading with a system. If you change strategies every week, enter trades based on news vibes, or sit there praying as price nears your stop loss, sorry, but you don't have a system. You just have temporary faith in your current emotions. I used to fool myself with beautiful spreadsheets. I laid everything out neatly in Notion, labeled setups by probability, even simulated hundreds of scenarios. But every time the market shook me up, I'd rationalize, this time's different. It's a rare event. I can't let my stop get hit like that. Maybe I should exit early, just in case. I thought I was being smart, but really, I was dismantling the only structure protecting me. The raw truth is this: if you don't follow your system, you don't have a system. You only have an emotional framework disguised as structure. You're trading like this. When confident, size up. When scared, reduce volume. When losing, stay out for a few days. When winning, double down to optimize. Sound familiar? That's not a system. That's a sequence of reflexes controlled by hormones, memory, and emotion. Your brain isn't built to follow logic under pressure. Cortisol spikes during losses, you become defensive, hesitant, self-doubting. Dopamine floods in during big wins, you feel invincible, double your risk. Oxytocin kicks in when someone reassures you. You hold losing trades too long because someone said it'll bounce back. You think you're in control, but really you're just trading under the influence of brain chemicals. A real system must do 3 things. 1, reduce decision-making when emotions are high. No gut tweaks during crunch time. 2, run itself even when you're not okay. If you're stressed, it still gives the right signal, right risk, right size. Track. Respond, improve based on data, not feelings. I think it's working doesn't count. It must be measurable. Have you built something that can do all that? I used to think discipline was a matter of willpower. I forced myself to be stronger, be more disciplined. But eventually I realized willpower is a limited resource. The more you resist emotion, the easier you break after a shock. Only when I redesigned my system so that I didn't need to fight myself daily, only when everything was pre-programmed in logic and I turned it into habit, that's when I truly traded with a system. Want to test if you're truly trading systematically? Ask yourself, can I stop trading for 2 weeks and return without tweaking my system? Can I take 10 losses in a row and still follow every rule? Can I teach my system to someone else without relying on I just feel it explanations? If not, you probably don't have a system. You're just justifying emotional decisions with technical language. It took me 3 years to realize that, and another year to rebuild a system I could actually live with. Not the most profitable system, not the most powerful system, but the one I could follow every single day, whether I'm losing, discouraged, or the sky is falling. Because trading isn't a game of who's the smartest, it's a game of who survives longest. And only a system can carry you through emotional storms. You can trade on passion for a few weeks, you can win big on instinct for a few trades, but if you want to earn consistently, sustainably, professionally, you can't rely on emotion. You need a system. And even more importantly, you need to become the kind of person who can follow it. You don't make money from intelligence. You make money from consistency. And consistency only comes from a system you can walk with for life. If you want, I can help you rebuild that system the right way. Not to fight your emotions, but to never have to gamble with them again. Are you ready? A system doesn't win because of the entry, it wins because of the exit. I used to believe, and many still do, open quote, if I can find a good entry, the win is guaranteed. Close quote. But honestly, that mindset is a trap. I once built an entire trading system focused solely on finding the perfect entry. Every tick, every candle, every RSI signal or breakout, I waited for that one holy grail setup. I'd enter the trade and think the rest was just waiting for money to flow into my account. Then things started falling apart. Not because I entered wrong, but because I exited wrong. Why can you enter right and still lose? Let me tell you a real story. I once entered a long position on BTC right as it broke through resistance. Volume surged. Everything aligned with my plan. My take profit target was plus 5%, stop loss at -2%. But when price hit plus 2%, it started to pull back. I got scared of losing profits and closed early. Right after that, the market skyrocketed another 10%. Another time, I shorted ETH, nailed the top. Price dropped 5% quickly. I thought, it'll bounce a bit, then drop more. But it bounced and kept going up. I held on. That plus 5% gain turned into a full account wipeout. The truth is, exits are where the money is made. Entries only open a possibility. Exits are what lock in reality. And ironically, exits are the part most traders have no real plan for. 1. Entry is a choice. Exit is a decision. When you enter a trade, you're saying, I think price will move this way. When you exit, you're saying, this is enough. I'll take this result. But most of us don't know when to hold, aren't clear when to exit, won't take profits, afraid of missing more. Won't stop out, afraid to admit we're wrong. Sound familiar? That's because human psychology hates closing doors. We love beginnings. We fear endings. 2. 3 types of exit and how to choose the right one. If you don't define your exits in advance, emotions will define them for you. In a structured system, I force myself to define 3 specific types of exits before I enter any trade. 1. Profit target exit. Take profit example. Plus 1.5 R or plus 3% gain, a reward for patience, but must be logical, not greedy. 2. System-based exit example. Lost breakout, sharp volume drop, reversal candle closes, no hope, just rules. Act on the data. 3. Failure exit. Stop loss. The hardest to follow. Cutting a loss at the right time is the bravest act in trading. I once let a -2% drawdown slip into -12% just because I hoped it would recover. That became the most expensive lesson of my life because I lost my discipline. 3. Psychology gets hijacked at the exit. Have you noticed? We often take profits too early, hold losses too long. Why? When we're in profit, we fear losing it. When we're in loss, we hope to recover. When things get unclear, we freeze. These emotions don't arise at the entry, they hit at the exit, because entry is a dream, exit is reality. 4. You can't win consistently with chaotic exits. A trading system is a machine. Every part needs to be clear and consistent. But if you change exits every time, holding long one day, cutting quick the next, freezing the next, you don't have a system. You're just trading by gut feeling. The result? A few big winners, wiped out by one massive loser. You never know if you're winning from skill or luck. 5. Entry creates opportunity. Exit determines destiny. I've used 3 different entry strategies. The win rate was about the same, but when I changed how I managed trades, especially holding winners as planned, cutting losers when structure breaks, avoiding revenge trades after getting stopped out, my performance skyrocketed. I stopped looking for the perfect entry. I started building a disciplined position management system. 6. Lessons from legendary traders. Did you know? Mark Minervini, U.S. Investing Championship winner, said, "Exit skills determine 80% of my profits." Paul Tudor Jones, billionaire trader, once said, "I always know where I'm wrong and I cut fast." Tom Hugard in Best Loser Wins shared, "Exiting properly, even when you're right, takes more courage than holding." If you ask me, open quote, what changed your trading the most? Close quote. I won't say entry, I won't say indicators. I'll say I learned how to exit. Not emotionally, not impulsively, but through a system designed, tested, and practiced. You can't control the market, but you can control where you exit. And the way you exit will decide whether you're a survivor or a casualty. That feeling, pounding heart, trembling hands, eyes locked on the chart, you think you're observing the market, but in truth, you're being driven by your nervous system. Let me tell you a small but real story. A trader friend of mine, Eric, had a brilliantly optimized trading system, 3 years of backtesting, clear rules, tight risk management, and yet, when real breakouts happened, he hesitated, or if he entered, he exited too early. Or he cut losses impulsively at the first sign of a minor pullback, then sat there regretting it for days. The problem wasn't his system. The problem was his nervous system. Here's what very few in the trading world will tell you. You're not trading the market. You're trading your biology and emotional state. 1. Trading is a battle between consciousness and survival instincts. You think you're using logic when you trade? Wrong. Logic is just a thin mask. Beneath it lies your primal survival system, the one that helped your ancestors flee from wild animals. The problem? The market isn't a predator, but your nervous system doesn't know that. When price looks like it's reversing, your brain triggers the amygdala, the fear center. Your heart races, your muscles tense, sweat pours, your finger clicks close position. Not because there was a valid signal, but because you couldn't handle the uncertainty. Number 2. Uncertainty is the nervous system's greatest threat. Your nervous system craves stability, but trading is chaos, constant flux, no guarantees, and relentless emotional bait. Every time you enter a trade, you trigger your stress response system. If you haven't trained your nervous system to sit with the discomfort of not knowing, you'll eventually sabotage your own strategy. You'll enter too early, can't handle FOMO. You'll exit too early, can't handle risk. You'll over-leverage, desperate to get it all back. 3. Emotions are signals, not instructions. New traders confuse emotion with instruction. I feel sure, so I'll enter. I feel anxious, so I'll exit. But the truth is, emotions are just biological responses, not market signals. A professional trader learns to watch their emotions like they watch the chart. For example, when your hands tremble before a breakout, instead of acting, you observe. After 3 wins in a row, when you feel euphoric, you don't double your lot. You pause. You breathe. 4. You must rewire your nervous system so it doesn't betray you. Chart reading and technical analysis, that's only 20%. The other 80% is regulating your physiology. It may not sound sexy, but ask any trader who survived a decade. They all have rituals that stabilize the nervous system. Breath work, meditation, journaling, exercise, shutting the screens off at a set time. These are not soft skills, they are your biological infrastructure. Because if you don't stabilize it, your nervous system will act for you, often against logic. #5. The greatest difference between newbies and elite traders is reactivity. Newbies react. Elite traders pause and choose their response. What creates that gap? The level of sympathetic nervous system activation. For the untrained, every price swing feels like a punch to the face. You react instantly. But when you've trained your nervous system to be resilient, you create space between stimulus and action. And in that space, you regain freedom. #6. Your nervous system will be miseducated. If you don't pay attention, win big by over-leveraging once, your nervous system learns risk equals reward. Avoid a stop loss by moving it, it learns breaking rules equals safety. Over time, you're reprogrammed by dopamine, the reward hormone, and suddenly you're not trading a system, you're chasing feelings. When the market shifts, you don't notice it cognitively. Your body knows first. It tenses up, it panics, it acts out, and you lose without knowing why. 7. If you want stable profits, stabilize your nervous system first. The question I get most, how do I get more consistent results? My answer, stabilize your nervous system. You can't expect consistent profit if your biology is on a roller coaster. You need a calm, distraction-free trading space, proper rest and nervous system recovery, A trading system so simple it minimizes emotional triggers, rituals before and after trading to restore your inner safety zone. 8. This is an inner battlefield, not a trading platform. Let this sink in. The market isn't your enemy. Your enemy is your primal reaction. If left untrained, you can build a perfect trading system. But if your nervous system can't handle the pressure, it'll destroy everything you've built. And you'll blame the market, believing it's unfair. #9. Trade like a warrior, with a mind as still as stone. The nervous system isn't tamed by logic. It's trained through repetition, environment, and habit, through noticing emotion without instantly reacting. When you master that, you begin trading beyond emotion. And for the first time, the market stops being terrifying because you realize fear is inside, not outside. You don't need another indicator. You need stillness. You don't need another strategy. You need fewer reactions because trading isn't a game for the smartest, it's a game for the most regulated nervous systems. Discipline isn't willpower, it's a biological environment done right. If you're wrestling with yourself every day to stay disciplined, the problem isn't you, it's the biological cage you're trapped inside. Let me tell you a true story. There was a trader named Matt. I met him during a small group coaching session. Matt lacked nothing. Smart, financially secure, a clear strategy. He once had a winning streak that lasted 3 months straight. But then, in just one moment of lost control, he went all in on a wild trade and wiped out all his profits. He cried, not because of the money, but because he couldn't understand why he did it. Have you ever felt the same? You know what's right. You know the entry, the exit. You know to be patient. You know to manage risk. And yet, in that moment, your finger hits buy, like something else is controlling you. That wasn't a lack of knowledge, not a lack of willpower. It was you trying to resist a biological flood while standing directly in the path of the storm. The biggest misunderstanding about discipline. People often think discipline is some internal quality, like steel willpower. But think about it. Why are you more impulsive when you're tired? Why do you lose control more easily at the end of the day? Why do you revenge trade after just a few losses? Because willpower isn't infinite, it's fuel. And it burns every time you resist an impulse. And if your biological environment, your emotions, hormones, and nervous system is pushing you toward reaction, then no matter how smart or skilled you are, you'll eventually break. What nervous system state are you trading from? Your nervous system has 2 primary modes: sympathetic, fight or flight, survival mode. Cortisol spikes, adrenaline surges, emotions intensify, impulsive behavior kicks in. Parasympathetic, rest and digest, responsive mode, calm, observant, centered, intentional behavior. Most traders lose not because they don't know what to do, but because their nervous system forces them to do the wrong thing. Example, you've just lost 3 trades in a row. Cortisol rises, heart rate increases. You start needing to win it back. Your brain goes into hyperfocus. Charts start looking like opportunities everywhere, but it's an illusion. You trade from fight or flight, and you lose again. Now compare that to being in a parasympathetic state. You breathe deeper, you sit with better posture, your gaze softens, you're not hypnotized by 1-minute candles, you see the big picture. Even if you don't take a trade, you still feel in control. Want discipline? Fix your biology first. Discipline doesn't start with a checklist. It starts with giving your nervous system the right conditions to stay regulated. Here are the 4 pillars you need to examine. 1. Physiology. Sleep, nutrition, movement. If you're sleep deprived, your brain seeks dopamine and stimulation. If you lack protein, you can't produce serotonin, the chemical of emotional stability. If you sit all day, your body can't release stress. A truly disciplined trader sleeps enough, eats right, and moves regularly before they even open a chart. 2. Environment. What's your trading space doing to your brain? If you trade in bed, the same place you scroll TikTok, Your brain assumes it's a place for leisure, not focus. If your screen is too bright, music too stimulating, tabs flying, telegram buzzing, you're self-sabotaging your emotional state. Want a stable nervous system? Simplify your trading setup. Create a sacred space. Reduce blue light. Don't let your environment drag you into survival mode. 3. Chronobiology. When are you trading? Your nervous system has golden hours, usually after light movement and a good breakfast, and dead zones, like after lunch when you're sluggish or late in the day when your brain is fried. If you keep forcing trades during dead zones, you're using a tired brain to make critical decisions. Trading isn't whenever there's a signal. It's only trade when your nervous system is in peak state. 4. Emotional cycles. Where are you on your psychological wave? Every trader has emotional cycles, from excitement and confidence to frustration and impatience to anxiety and doubt. If you don't know where you are in that wave, it will consume you. You'll think this setup feels right, but in reality, you're just at an emotional low, trying to escape it. Every morning, ask, where am I emotionally today? Write it down. Put your mind in the light before the darkness takes over. Discipline doesn't come from control, it comes from design. Change the way you think. A disciplined trader isn't stronger than you. They've just designed their biology, space, and behavior to minimize emotion and optimize state. So don't blame yourself when you break discipline. Instead, observe. What did I eat? Did I sleep enough? Where am I sitting? Am I being influenced by someone or something? Behavior is not the product of willpower. It's the output of nervous system, environment, biology, emotional triggers. Bottom line, your physiology drives your behavior, not willpower. Discipline won't last if it's powered by force. It lasts when it's built on an environment that supports calm, focus, and resilience. So every time you lose control, don't blame yourself. Investigate the biological cage you're operating inside. And if you're struggling with discipline, start small. Sleep well, eat right, sit in the right spot, write down your emotional state. Don't try to force discipline. Design a life that supports it, because real, sustainable discipline isn't a war. It's a partnership between you and your nervous system. I used to change trading strategies like changing shirts. After every few losses, I'd hop online, watch a new video, learn a new indicator, try a new system. All I could think was, maybe I just haven't found the right strategy yet. Until one day, I realized a harsh truth. I wasn't losing because my strategies were bad. I was losing because I didn't stick to any of them long enough. You don't need a holy grail strategy. You just need a good enough one, and the ability to follow it like a machine. I know that sounds boring, but in the world of trading, boring is powerful. The real problem, no one stays long enough to find out if their strategy works. Most traders, myself included back then, never go far enough to see if their system truly works. They jump from one method to another: price action, Ichimoku, scalping, swing, tight stops, long holds. And each time they start from scratch. No data, no experience, no chance to improve. Trading isn't a game for the clever, it's a game for the consistent. I once had a very basic system, trend following. Entries on moving average crossovers. Stop loss equals 1R, take profit equals 2R. Back-tested win rate around 47%, enough for long-term profitability. But in live trading, after just 3 losses in a row, I started doubting. I went into a group chat and asked, should I wait for RSI confirmation? What about waiting for an engulfing candle? So I added rules. Then it felt too slow, so I removed them. Then I tried something else. Eventually, I had a system that even I couldn't understand anymore. You can't know if a system works if you keep changing it. Every little adjustment you think is an optimization is actually breaking consistency, and without consistency, every strategy becomes gambling. The hardest truth? Most traders don't fail from lack of knowledge. They fail from lack of self-control. You know you should place a stop loss, but you move it. You know to follow your plan, but you take that FOMO trade anyway. You know to take profit, but you get greedy and lose it all. It's not the system that's flawed. It's your inability to stay steady with it. The real enemy isn't the market. It's the fear of losing money, the hunger for more, the self-doubt, the ego that refuses to admit mistakes, the loneliness that makes you sway with every tip on Telegram. A real edge isn't a strategy that wins all the time. It's a strategy you can survive with for 100 trades. So the right questions aren't, what's the win rate? But rather, can I stick with this for 100 trades? Can I stomach 7 losses in a row? Can I trust it through a 15% drawdown? Trading doesn't reward the smartest. It rewards the most consistent. Don't force belief in a strategy just because someone told you to. You need real data, personal experience, your own statistics, a trading journal. Only when you've seen it with your own eyes. I traded 100 setups, followed every rule, had a 12% drawdown and 9% profit. Only then will you trust your system. Not because it's magical, but because you've lived with it, understood it, and know its limits. I once lost 80% of my account. Not because the system was bad, but because I couldn't stick to any system. There was a day I traded using 4 different strategies in one session. 1-minute scalping, hourly breakout, RSI divergence, bottom fishing, random emotional revenge trades. I didn't have a strategy. I had emotional reactions dressed in technical clothing, and the market punishes betrayal with perfect fairness. Here's what you should do instead. Choose a simple strategy. Test it with small size, trade at least 50 setups, log every trade, review every 10 trades. And above all, never judge a system by 1 to 2 losing trades. Think in terms of probabilities. Think like a mathematician, not a gambler. You can't know if a deck has edge if you fold every time after a few bad hands. So let me be blunt. You don't need another strategy. You need the courage to stick with a simple one to the very end. You don't need to be brilliant. You don't need perfect technical skill. You just need to be a little more steady and resilient than the next guy. And that is what almost no one has. I used to think I had to win every trade. But after blowing up my account for the 3rd time, I finally understood survival is the ultimate goal. Let me tell you a painful truth, but it's also the truth that saved me from the cycle of blowing up. Like most new traders, I was obsessed with winning every trade. 1 stop loss would frustrate me. 2 would make me angry. 3, and I'd break my system, skip trades, hold losers, and eventually blow my account. I didn't realize the goal isn't to win every trade, it's to stay in the game long enough for the market to reward the ones who survive. Victory isn't never losing, it's still being here after you've lost. Let me ask you something. How many trades do the best traders in the world win? 60%, 70%? No, some only win 40%, but with a reward to risk of 3-1. That means they can lose 6 trades in a row and still be profitable after just 3 winners. But to get to trade number 7 and number 8, you have to still be alive. That's when I learned the truth. Survival is the first strategy. Winning is the reward for those who don't shoot themselves in the foot. You might have a good system, but can you survive a losing streak? The hardest part in trading isn't finding a system. Systems are everywhere. The hard part is sticking with one after 5 straight losses. I had a system with a 53% win rate and a 2-to-1 reward to risk. Statistically, I should have printed money if I just followed it, but after 4 losses, I started to doubt. Has the market changed? Is my system broken? So I changed the rules, added indicators, got lost. Right then, the market reversed. Trades 5, 6, and 7 should have been big winners, but I either didn't take them or entered wrong. The system didn't fail. I did, because I couldn't endure being wrong long enough. Great traders aren't better than you. They just sabotage themselves less. That realization hit me hard. Top traders aren't smarter. They're not faster. They're not better at predicting. They just mess themselves up less often. They don't panic. They don't break their rules when they lose. They don't hold losers out of ego. They don't revenge trade. And they don't expect to win every trade. They just aim to win enough to keep the equity curve moving upward, year over year, not day by day. Long-term thinking, the mindset most traders never learn. I once asked a veteran trader, someone who'd lived off trading for 15 years, "How did you survive this long?" He didn't say a word, just showed me his equity curve. No spikes, no parabolic gains, just a slow, steady climb, like a staircase. He said, open quote, "Trading isn't about making a lot of money in a few months. It's about making money for years, without going insane, going broke, or losing who you are." Close quote. That's when I realized my problem wasn't that my strategy wasn't good enough. It was that my mindset wasn't mature enough. Don't judge by the day. Judge by the year. Winning today doesn't make you great. Losing today doesn't make you bad. There's only one way to know if you're improving. Look at 100 trades. Look at 12 months. Look at 500 hours of real trading. Ask yourself, is your equity curve still rising? Are you still following your plan after losses? Are you calm after a big win? Are you disciplined when the market is flat? Those who answer yes, they're the real winners. Not because they win every trade, but because they survive long enough to let their strategy work. The survival formula: control drawdown, don't chase win rate. If there's anything you must protect, it's your emotional and financial capital. Don't let your drawdown go past 20% or you'll lose confidence. Don't let 5 losses crush your mindset or you'll destroy your own plan. Trade small enough that 10 losses in a row won't break you. Log every entry, every exit, so you know if the problem is your system or you. And most importantly, never judge your performance by a single day. Final thought: trading is not a place to shine. It's a place to endure. If you want to look brilliant, go win a short-term investing contest. If you want to win big, prepare to lose long without quitting. Trading isn't for the impatient. It's for those who understand. Every day you survive brings you one step closer to freedom. And freedom doesn't come from a single winning trade. It comes from accumulating discipline, perspective, and a kind of resilience no one teaches. You don't need to win every trade, but you do need to stay in the game long enough for your system to prove itself. What about you? Are you still searching for an edge, or are you becoming the edge the market can't break? I used to believe that an edge in trading was something external, some magical system, secret indicator, or hidden formula only the masters had. But after years of getting beaten down by the market, I learned a harsh truth. An edge isn't something you find, it's something you become. You become. Task 1: from having a system to becoming the systemator. Many traders treat trading like a technical subject. Memorize formulas, follow rules, execute steps. They believe that's enough to gain an edge. But when the market shakes, psychology steps in. A sudden pullback, a big red candle, your heartbeat spikes, palms sweat, and you exit early. Then price turns, just like the system predicted. Anger, regret. Then you break the strategy. You have a system, but you can't live with it. You're not yet the embodiment of it. And that's where your edge crumbles. Masters don't follow the system, they are the system. Great traders don't just follow a plan, they become the plan. There's no longer a separation between me and the strategy. No more forcing discipline. Every action flows as naturally as breathing. They don't get excited when they win. They don't get crushed when they lose. Each trade is just a data point. They're not trying to be right. They're trying to do it right. And that's how they build a durable edge, an edge that no one else can copy. 3. Emotion is the #1 edge killer. Most traders blame the system for losses, but look deeper. How often did you break the rules because of emotion? You held a loser out of pride, you jumped in early out of FOMO, you doubled your size to make it back. These aren't strategy failures, they're you failures, born from ego, fear, and greed. Every time you act on emotion, you step outside your edge and crush yourself. For 4, the real edge lies in awareness. Great traders don't just know what they're trading. They know who they are in every moment of the market. They observe both the outer chart to make decisions, the inner chart to understand why they want to act. They don't resist emotions. They recognize them before they speak. That's why their actions stay precise, even in chaos. 5, edge becomes identity at a frac. At a certain point, edge stops being how you trade. It becomes how you exist in the market. You don't need 10 strategies. You only need one, but it must align with your personality, mindset, nervous system, and goals. I know a trader who uses just one price pattern. He hasn't updated his strategy in years, yet he consistently extracts money from the market. Why? Because he is the living embodiment of that system. Namers. Becoming the edge means rebuilding yourself. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's built from relentless discipline, deep self-awareness, thousands of failed trades, and lessons learned. You'll face yourself, rewire faulty beliefs, train your mind, stabilize your nervous system, eliminate self-sabotaging behaviors, and one day you'll stop searching for edge outside because you'll realize you've become it. Number 7. When you are the edge, you don't need to predict, The true edge isn't knowing where the market is going. It's knowing how you'll respond no matter what happens. You can lose 4 trades in a row and still pull the trigger on the 5th. You can win big and still size your next trade correctly. You don't need to win. You just need to act with precision. That's when you enter the flow state, where will, system, and self become one. Trading stops feeling like pressure, becomes a natural expression of who you are. 8, are you trading or becoming? Many traders spend a lifetime chasing edge, but maybe they're looking in the wrong place. Edge isn't in books, not in YouTube videos, not in $5,000 masterclasses. Edge is inside you, in how you think, feel, react, and show up every day in the market. And to truly succeed, you don't need more than that. You just need to become the edge the market can't replicate. Open quote, you can copy the system, but you can't copy the person who has become one with the system. Close quote. You've just walked through 10 chapters, 10 layers of mental camouflage that every trader must eventually confront on the path to mastery. Not everyone has the courage to peel those layers back. But if you're still here, if you're still listening, then maybe you're one of the few who's ready to face the real enemy in trading, yourself. You used to think the problem was the market, that your strategy wasn't good enough, that you lacked tools, signals, or breaking news. But no, the problem was never out there. The market doesn't know who you are. It doesn't care if you win or lose. It simply reflects with brutal honesty the way you react, process information, and handle fear, greed, and your untamed ego. If there's only one truth you take away from this entire journey, let it be this, open quote, you don't trade the market, you trade yourself, close quote. And to become a real trader, you have to stop trying to control the market and start rebuilding the system within, your mindset, your emotions, your behavior, your reflexes, and your nervous system. Let's revisit the 10 lessons. You lost because you overthought and didn't have a system to make cold decisions for you. You mistook early wins as signs of genius, not knowing they were dopamine illusions. You thought you had a system, but kept breaking it every time the market challenged your emotions. You entered correctly, but exited wrong because there was no logic, only fear or greed. You studied countless strategies, but never learned how to create a real, sustainable, personal edge. You didn't lose because of the market, but because your nervous system wasn't wired for trading. You thought discipline was willpower, when it's really about biological design and the right environment. You don't lack strategies, you lack the resilience to stay with one long enough. You believed edge was found in price patterns, but forgot it's about process, reflexes, mindset, and discipline. And finally, you searched for a system with an edge, but masters don't look for an edge. They become the edge. Trading is an inner journey, not to win every trade, but to win over yourself every day. Not to find the magic formula, but to become the kind of person who doesn't need one. That's when you stop reacting and start acting by design. That's when you stop doubting and start trusting a belief system proven over time. That's when you stop fearing losses, because your system, your mindset, and your discipline are strong enough to outlive volatility. This is not the end. This is the beginning of a quiet transformation. Not flashy, not loud. Just one thing, every day. Open quote, follow the system, honor the discipline, align with your biology. Close quote, that's enough, every single day. And if you do that long enough, you won't just make money, you'll become the kind of person you respect, because you're no longer gambling. You're expressing an art, the art of silence, discipline, and freedom. Welcome to the truest version of a trader. If this journey resonated with you, drop a comment. I will become my own edge. And if you're ready to live that mindset daily, hit subscribe and let's keep walking this path together. I'll see you in the next trade. But this time, you'll be someone new.